We have access to the most powerful tools in human history, yet across the globe, we see record levels of burnout, disengagement, and quiet quitting. When confronted with rapid change, our first instinct is usually to double down on what we already know. We try to outwork the disruption, applying brute force to industrial-era routines that no longer map to reality. Scaling an outdated operational model to interface with modern technology creates a bottleneck. The systems fracture, and the people running them exhaust themselves trying to keep the pieces together. To survive this environment, we must execute a cognitive reboot, a deliberate unlearning of old habits. It requires a Control-Alt-Delete on our baseline assumptions. A technological crisis is actually a biological crisis. We are currently trying to navigate an AI-first reality using a brain conditioned for the industrial age. Curious tone. To understand how to rewire that conditioning, we have to look back at the origins of human technology during the Pleistocene epoch. Progress back then did not happen in a slow, steady climb. It arrived in sudden, explosive bursts. 500,000 years ago, in the Olorgesailie Basin of southern Kenya, a lush, predictable lake ecosystem collapsed. The climate swung violently between extreme wet and dry periods, turning the landscape into a crucible of unpredictability. For 1,000,000 years, early humans had relied on a single heavy stone hand axe. As their environment grew hostile, that standardized tool became a severe liability. They discarded it. In its place, they developed complex projectile weapons using obsidian. Since obsidian was not found locally, this forced them to plan ahead, travel vast distances, and establish the earliest known regional trade networks. Extreme environmental pressure left them with a strict binary choice. Clinging to legacy tools guaranteed extinction. Surviving required an immediate rewiring of how they interacted with the world. We can map these historical leaps mathematically. Evolutionary biologists at Stanford have built computational models that simulate the exact mechanics of how human cultures innovate. The first variable in their equation is the spontaneous leap of insight. Someone, somewhere, invents a completely novel tool, establishing a new capability. The second variable is combinatorial synthesis. People take that isolated discovery and merge it with existing tools. A raft inspires the invention of a paddle, which inspires offshore fishing, driving an exponential curve of capability. The final variable is degradation. When a highly specialized population faces a sudden environmental shift, their deeply entrenched specific knowledge becomes suddenly useless, and the technology is lost. The math confirms what the fossil record implies. During a period of rapid change, rigid specialization ensures failure. By 1440, the evolutionary pressure had shifted from physical survival to intellectual scale. The Gutenberg press removed the physical constraints of the handwritten scribe, mass-producing the written word. The democratization of information terrified legacy institutions. Rulers and religious orders scrambled to govern a decentralized, high-velocity network of ideas they could no longer contain. We are living through the modern equivalent of that panic. The internet and mobile networks have pushed that democratizing mission to its limit, collapsing physical distance and hyper-connecting the global population. This connectivity carries a heavy psychological tax. We have built an attention economy fueled by algorithms, subtly conditioning users to compare themselves to curated realities and trapping them in invisible boxes of conformity. Any tool built to liberate human thought will eventually become a mechanism of cognitive capture if the people using it operate on autopilot. That brings us to artificial intelligence. Rather than a standard software update, AI operates as a foundational enabling force, carrying the same civilizational weight as the discovery of fire or the electrical grid. Organizations face a harsh sorting mechanism right now. Many will choose iterative automation, deploying AI to execute yesterday's workflows cheaper without updating their actual business models. This approach leads directly to cognitive decay. When teams use generative tools to mindlessly dump unrefined content onto each other, original thinking dies, trust erodes, and silent barriers build up between colleagues. The alternative is augmentation. Instead of treating AI as a replacement for cheap labor, successful teams position it as a collaborative partner. They automate the administrative friction so human workers can focus on complex strategy, empathy, and connection. How a system chooses to deploy this intelligence dictates whether it is treading water or actually evolving. Evolving past the algorithm requires you to break your own conformity. You have to actively question default settings, honor your unconventional ideas, and give yourself permission to operate as a rebel in your own industry. Within teams, this means practicing immediate curiosity. When friction or unspoken reactions occur in a meeting, you address them in the moment. You build psychological safety by asking open-ended questions instead of ignoring the tension. It also requires updating how you speak to yourself. Psychological research indicates that replacing I am statements with third-person affirmations, saying you are capable instead of I am capable, can bypass the brain's evolutionary defense mechanisms and reduce internal resistance to change. Ultimately, every machine, network, and language model we build is just a tool. It will simply fail to deliver meaningful progress if the human mindset driving it remains static and unchallenged. True progress is the result of shifting from passive reaction to active design. The next great leap isn't a faster processor, but the human choice to stop operating on autopilot and start authoring the future.